Tribe of Wild Women, I would like you to introduce you to Janelle Lucido. Did I say that right?
Yep, that's right.
Yes. And she is an author and a mother, a mystic, and she is a master home cook. And she has just released her new book. Why don't you tell us about it?
It's called Food Without Fear, and the subheading is how to surprise and delight even yourself with food you can't wait to eat. So it's about like the internal, the inside, the feelings of that I've learned to master and as I'm cooking, because so much of cooking and relating to food is about how we feel about it. And so I wanted to write about that. And of course, you know, it has like lots of recipes in the book, but really like it's layered in with my poetry and prose and just my thoughts and feelings about how to be with food and relate to food and other people with food. So.
Oh, wow. That sounds wonderful. We really do have a lot of, go ahead.
I just wanted to say it's also, the recipes are really just what I cook every day. It's not fancy food. I think that's important. There's a whole culture of like chef fancy food that, you know, is readily available on TV and it's very glamorous, but I'm a big fan of the home cooking.
Yeah. Well, and that's for another season in life when we don't have kids, probably. I would be. I'm not Julia Childs in the kitchen. But, you know, I'm interested in your book because we have so many weird feelings and things, you know, about food.
Yeah.
We love food, but then we hate food, and we're in the kitchen. We've got to eat. It's more than fuel. We want to enjoy it, but we get kind of crazy about it.
Yeah.
What led you? Is that what led you to write this, or kind of where you
started to realize, you know, I came up sort of in a food culture. I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I was surrounded by, you know, I grew up, my grandfather's family owned orchards and they harvested apricots and fruit from the trees. And I grew up in California where there's just an abundance of fruit and vegetables. And then I started working in the grocery stores in the food industry. And I started to observe that people would come in and they would have so much fear about food. And because of that, they would sort of be really harsh with themselves and regiment how they ate. And I worked in not just like the regular grocery stores, then I started working in health food stores. And I saw that even the people who were trying to eat really healthy, you know, they would follow these trends and they would just feel so it would feel so constricting and so rigid. And I just felt like that doesn't feel like freedom to me, you know, and if this life that we're about is about freedom, then that's not it, you know? And so I started to recognize that, I had a lot of freedom around food. And I started to ask myself questions like, what is that? And why is it different? And what are the feelings of that? What does that feel like to engage with food in that way, with a sense of ease and with freedom. And so that's what this book was birthed out of, because I feel like as a culture, we have so much fear around food and so much anxiety and frustration. And it's so wrapped up in our ability to receive nourishment and how we relate to our families and how we relate to our friends. And so many people in our culture are, you know, food has become the new religion, really. Yeah. I mean, you go to somebody's house and they eat this way and we eat that way. And everybody has their way of eating, and sort of it's a dividing line. Like, we can't be friends with them because they eat this way. You know, and even in different households, you have one person in the household eats this way, another person eats that way. And it's the way that we divide our life. And so this was just sort of my offering back to the world to say, you know, that we all need nourishment, and the feelings that we have when we're with our food is what really matters in the end. And I really genuinely believe it's not what you put in your mouth. It's really how you relate to what you put in your mouth.
And how you receive it. Yeah. So I guess then we can have play dates, because you won't care if we go to the McDonald's and get chicken nuggets, you know. I mean, that is a big deal in play groups.
It's a dividing line, right? Oh, she's the mommy who gives her kid Happy Meals.
Yes.
He's the mommy.
Yes.
Right? But what?
We had Cheetos and
why do we live with those divisions? Why do we allow that to divide us? You know, I feel like that's very inhuman.
It really is. It really is. Tell me, in your new book, what is your very favorite recipe and thing to prepare?
I'm so glad you asked. My pesto. I make this pesto, and I learned it sort of from a friend, and then I sort of made it my own and made it into a recipe. And it was like this huge epiphany to me the first few times that I made it, that I'm basically making it with raw nuts, raw cheese, raw olive oil, and then I add in like greens like kale or kale or chard, or, you know, whatever I've got in the fridge, a little bit of spinach and raw garlic, and you mix it all together, and the taste and the sensation of experiencing something so tasty is just mind-blowing. But to think about it as like completely nutritionally balanced and healthy for you. Like, I really very strongly believe that like we shouldn't force ourselves to eat food that we think is healthy, that it's about like the pleasure of relating to the food. And that's what pesto really got for me. Like, it's so good for you, but it's so good you can't stop eating it. And like, I don't mean that in a way of like gorging yourself. I just mean in a way of like, it's like that perfect marriage of nourishment and like love and desire, you know, all wrapped together. So it's like, there's no resistance. There's no like, I can't eat this, or I shouldn't eat this, or, you know, it's just like all of that comes down and you can be completely free. And that
is wonderful.
Really exciting.
Because the food rules are just, it's bondage. It is. It's like we're, and then when you put the motherhood aspect on that, because we want to feed our children something nutritious, but we're also in a hurry, and we're usually on a budget. And then you see the blogs where everybody is just growing their own food, and you know, not everybody can do that. You know.
Or want to. That maybe that's not how you want to spend your time, and that's not bad. You know, it's good to be who you are in the world, not somebody else.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You're making me hungry, and I want to come over and eat. I posted on Facebook that we were going to do this interview, and so I've had a lot of questions coming in. And you would not believe how many people are wondering about a ham. What is the big deal with ham at Thanksgiving? I've had so many people say, how do you cook it? When you go buy a ham, what do you get? There's so many choices.
I have to be completely honest. My husband is Muslim, so we eat a lot of lamb.
Okay.
And not a lot of ham.
Not a lot of ham.
This is my suggestion, and I don't cook a lot of ham, but I will tell you this. I say buy a bone-in ham that you cook yourself that isn't already sliced. If you buy a ham that's already sliced, I find no matter how good they say they're supposed to be, you know, you go get the expensive honey-baked ones, you could get one a third of the price, and it comes out succulent and tender. Just a regular bone-in ham can be so delicious. Don't spend all that extra money on a sliced ham that somebody else slapped some sugar and some nutmeg on. You don't really need that, or some cloves. I say just buy yourself an inexpensive bone-in ham and cook it, you know, according to the instructions. Most of the time, the instructions on the ham are actually really fantastic. But I find that the pre-sliced hams are often disastrous, even when you spend.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
You think you're getting it in the convenience, and then
well, and I have this, my best friend, she's like, her house is like the house of pork, you know, so I love pork. My family doesn't eat pork, but when I go to her house, there's a lot of pork happening. And so, you know, she bought this like, you know, $14 ham from the local grocer. Wow. And it was amazing. It was moist and succulent and delicious, you know, but it's, you know, it's not that thin sliced spiral, you know. And then she was, you know, in a hurry, and she knows I like pork because I don't get it at home. And so she brought home a honey baked ham, which costs like 4 times the amount. And it was so dry and so gross. I was like, don't bother, you know, just don't even bother. So that's my take on ham.
Well, that's wonderful to know. How many dishes would be a good amount? Say you're having your turkey, maybe you're having ham, but what's a good amount?
Well, I think the way I think about it is I think in terms of like 4 people, you know, you've got your bird or your protein, whatever it is, your main, you know, thing. And then you have your side dishes and then you have your dessert. And so if you're going to have 4 people, honestly, 2 sides is plenty for 4 people plus a dessert. I mean, that's plenty of food. I mean, you want leftovers, but you don't want so much leftovers that you get grossed out by it, right?
Yeah, I do. I cook way too much all the time.
And so, like, my thing is, like, you can always cook turkey again in January if you really want it. But, like, my feeling is don't overdo it. If you want to do a 3rd side, fine. So then every couple more people you add another side. It's that simple. Okay. Then you can always have enough for everybody without overloading. And if there's a side you absolutely have to make, and then there's somebody else in your family who has to have this side, let them make it.
That's a good idea. Right. We all have our favorites, yeah. You want to please everybody.
I'm a big fan of, you know, empower yourself.
I like that. Tell me, what's a good dish that if you get a last minute invitation, you're going somewhere, what's something really super quick and easy that we can prepare to take? You know,
one of the things I like the best, it's in my holiday collection of recipes, is you just peel sweet potatoes and slice them in like thick slices and put them in a steam basket, and then layer them in a casserole dish with butter and sugar, and you can add some cinnamon. And it's done. It's easy. You just put it in the oven to their house. It's so simple and so easy. But don't forget a little sprinkle of salt, because if you forget the salt, it won't taste right. But that is just simple, easy. Another really simple, easy one is just a spinach salad. You know, because everybody's going to be serving these really heavy foods, and it's so nice to sit down to a meal with something lighter to sort of.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So you don't feel so heavy at the end of the meal, because you really want to sit there and enjoy your meal. But if you just keep eating the stuffing, you're going to feel kind of gross. But you could sit there.
Everybody has that after Thanksgiving coma that they go into.
I really am a big fan of balancing a meal, you know, so it's like you get the rich buttery stuffing, but you also have lighter things to like eat with it, so it's not so heavy. And I put a lot of butter in my Thanksgiving dinner, don't get me wrong, but I like some balance, you know.
That's good. We've had several people ask about how much should they prepare beforehand, or should they really, you know, how much needs to be fresh, what can be done beforehand to make it a little easier.
Well, I think that one of the things that happens is we overload ourselves so much the day of, because we're trying to do 10 side dishes, right? And so my philosophy is more pare down how many side dishes you make so that it can be more manageable. You know, one of the best things to cook the day before is like a pie, you know, because then you can warm it up the day of, and that can be really nice. But the day of Thanksgiving, you know, should just be about a few side dishes and a roasting turkey. A turkey roast itself, it's really not a huge deal. And one of the things that happens is we build it up in our mind to be like, the turkey, oh my God, the turkey, right? And so like, you know, like I remember the first Thanksgiving I did by myself, I like got up at 6 in the morning to roast the turkey. And I roasted the turkey and it was done by 11 a.m. And I was like, where is everybody? The turkey's done. You know, it's like the thing of like, you build it up to this thing of like, it has to be done. It has to be perfect. But the truth is like, when you're having a family gathering, nobody cares if they have to wait an extra hour. You know, give them some more cheese and crackers, give them some more nuts. You know, don't stress yourself out so much that you have to do everything, you know, in everything the day of. Just pare it down so that it feels doable. That's really, really big. I feel like if it's not doable, it's not a holiday, you know? And we we put ourselves in this position, especially as mothers and care providers. We want everybody to be happy, but we put ourselves in the position of like having to do everything, and it gets so overwhelming. But like, that's not really what our family wants from us. Our family really wants to spend time with us, to enjoy our company, and to connect with us. And so I really feel like, you know, doing less often is actually doing more.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things that I am very impassioned about, is that we just put all these rules on everything we do and everything about
And if you
ourselves,
don't
that it
have
has to
this
be
dish, then so-and-so is going to be disappointed. And if I didn't make
right.
this the perfect way, everyone's going to be upset. And the truth is,
Exactly.
like, that's not the point.
Exactly. You know, a wise woman told me what she said. Look, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, would this have been such a big deal?
Right.
So you're telling me that my guests can still feel special if we have paper plates?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about the time and space that opens up. You know, like if you have paper plates, think about all the time you don't have to spend doing dishes and being the perfect housewife, right? That's big.
Right.
You know, and that's valuable. I think that's really valuable, because no one asks us to be martyrs. It's us who choose it, right? So we can choose to not be martyrs.
Oh, amen. I believe that. And it's okay for the planet. We can every now and then use paper products. And
hey, I know it's not going to be forever that we are young, like have children at home. It's a period of our lives, right? Like when we're older and we don't have, like, we're not serving a huge number of guests, it's not so hard to wash a few dishes. But when you're having a big number of people and that really cuts in on your time of being together, unless you have a family that jumps in and does all the dishes, I say empower yourself to take that time to be together instead.
Paper plates. That's good. And I had one person ask, can we just forget all the crazy and order pizza?
I say if it makes Thanksgiving good for you, then order pizza.
Then order pizza.
Right?
Yeah, well, hey, that works for me, except my husband is one of those turkey people. He deep fries a turkey every year, and it's a big
Take them somewhere else for turkey, right? You don't have to be the one to cook it. Take them somewhere else. It can still be Thanksgiving. You don't have to be if he cooks it, fine. He can cook a turkey. No one said you had to make side dishes either. Right. You could just eat a turkey.
My family is traveling. My parents will be traveling roughly 12 hours to come see us. And if I don't have a side dish, I think my dad might complain a little bit on that one. Tell me, because you're so wrapped up in the expression of food and the feelings around food, what do you do when you're in the kitchen and you're having one of those freak out moments? When everybody's hollering and screaming and nothing's coming out right, what do you do?
Well, it's crazy because, a lot of us mothers, we like things like yoga and we talk about meditation, but often all of that, like, it stops at the kitchen door or, the entryway into the kitchen. So I just bring my yoga straight into the kitchen with me. Like the other day I was literally like laying on the kitchen floor, looking at the ceiling, just like, okay, eventually everything will calm down and all will be well with the world, right? But I don't always lay on the floor. Often I'll just stand there and breathe, But one of the practices I found to be so empowering and so helpful is just literally being with every single bit of what I'm doing in that moment. Whether it's, cutting potatoes or rubbing, something on the turkey or chopping nuts or cutting vegetables, whatever it is, like, I do my very best to feel everything that I'm doing with my hands and to smell everything that's around me with my nose. And what happens is, because when we're panicking, it's like we pinpoint and we only focus on the littlest thing, and it's the littlest thing that just devastates us and we feel so much turmoil. But when you start to smell what's going on in your kitchen, you start to feel with your hands and you start to notice the bigger picture, then that little thing that you're panicking about gets much smaller and everything else sort of comes into the picture too. So it's not just that little thing anymore. Mm-hmm. That's one piece of it. Another piece is just like feeling my feet really firmly on the floor. And then one of the best things that I do that I absolutely love is I find myself, when I get into that martyr place, when I'm in that role of caretaker and I have to do this and nobody else can do this, it's so self-imposed. And so usually when I'm doing that, I'm in this like tizzy and I'm really kind of spinning out internally, and I get really gruff with my family and I'm frustrated and I'm sort of throwing elbows energetically, like just like move out of my way and get out of my kitchen. And I pause and I ask myself, I wasn't freaking out right now. What would this look like? How would my life be? And most of the time, I can say 99% of the time, my life is great. My family is healthy. We have plenty of food to eat. We love each other. We're all in the same house together. Everything is fine. And it doesn't even really matter if something burned or somebody hates what I made, right? None of that actually really matters. And so if I can pause and actually notice that I'm the one spinning out and that it's not my world spinning out, but that it's me, then I can start to distance myself from that feeling a little bit and just, you know, notice like, oh, I'm the one freaking out here, and not identify myself so intensely with that feeling.
And kind of take it back in.
Yeah. So freeing.
Now, will you be broadcasting a message like that Thursday Thanksgiving for all the people, just reminding us to breathe, just breathe, smell, feel, see, taste, touch?
Absolutely.
we get so out of touch with our bodies and with what's going on. And you know that be present and be mindful is such a buzz phrase now. But it really is kind of the key to happiness.
Well, it's interesting because I used to really reject it and push it away. I didn't really know what it meant for me, you know? And I feel like being able to bring it into a tangible reality is really helpful for me. Like touching the turkey or, you know, stirring the gravy and actually smelling it and looking at it and connecting with it. I find my food turns out so much better when I'm able to do that, because I'm literally able to like be with my food and I notice when it tastes good and when it doesn't. Instead of being all up in my head in my experience of what I'm worried about, I can be so much more present, and my food just tastes better when I'm like that. When I'm a crazy person, my food isn't that good, I'll be honest.
I believe that. And most of the listeners from mommykate.com are mostly mothers with young children and come from a Christian base or, you know, reference. And I want to remind them, we're not talking about the hippie, yah, woo-woo, weird stuff. I mean, it's just being present, you know, and in infusing what we do with love. And I mean, that's what we're called to love. Yeah. We are called to love. Absolutely. And what better way to do it, you know, with in our family, because we've really gotten kind of crazy from it. It's not about nourishing and sharing and love. It's just about throwing something according to those food rules on the table and get
a task, a job, you know. And I've really found, like, you know, like when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to be present and I think about the people I'm cooking for when I'm cooking, it's amazing to me how much more they like it.
Yes. I mean, it's like a prayer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Without any doubt in my mind, it is a prayer. Cooking for me is a prayer. Every step is a prayer. And if I'm able to be with it in that way, it totally changes how people experience the food. There's so much potential in that.
And it changes our own mindset too. Absolutely. From a chore to a joy.
Yeah. And that's what,
and to be joyful.
That's what, you know, that's what we're here to do, right? To love God, to love each other, right? And that's right. That is love. Like, not being a martyr, that's not love.
No.
Not doing chores, that's not love. But like prayerfully preparing and being present and loving.
Right. I try to remind people there's not a point system in heaven. You don't get extra points for having all the laundry hung up by a certain time. You don't get extra points, you know, for that sort of thing. So just chill and enjoy the moment, because that's really all we have, you know, right now, this moment. And we've certainly seen world tragedies lately that remind us of that. You know, we don't want to get hung up on all these crazy food rules, and we don't want to get hung up on the craziness because, you know, every season has its own crazy, whether it's children screaming, knocking on the door, whether it's appliances that won't work on the day they're supposed to work and you have all the guests coming. I mean, things always happen, and that's just part of life. And I really like your advice about just staying in the moment with your, and you really brought that in a practical way with seeing and tasting and smelling and feeling, and I really appreciate that. Tell me about some of the things that you offer on your website, and tell us a little bit about the book. And I think you have a freebie for us. Is that right?
Yes.
Yay!
So one of the things that I do for my clients is I help them based on like foods they would like to eat more of to create like 5 personalized recipes just for them. So a lot of times when people are having a hard time, like when they've decided not to eat gluten or when they found out that they have a certain allergy, all they can think about is that one thing that they can't eat. And so then it feels like they can't eat anything. And so I'm a food person. I've always been a food person. When I hear the list of things they can't eat, I'm like, oh, well, you could still eat all of these things, you know? Right. And so what I have people do is offer, like, give me their yes list. And then I just automatically, it's like so instantaneous in my brain. I just, oh yeah, here's a recipe. Oh yeah, you could do this. And so I just customize it specifically to them so they can feel inspired and excited to eat again.
Oh, that is so we can just let you do all the thinking and the hard work. I love that.
Just to get you started, because it's about feeling like there's a yes there instead of a no.
There is. I know. I did an AntiCandida cleanse a long time ago. Yeah. And I remember one of my friends did that too, and she said, yeah, basically all you can have is sex and water. You know, there's like nothing else on the list that you can eat. That way. It can, and I mean, yeah, it's very restrictive. So when you start thinking, and I have a son that has a tree nut allergy. So, you know, we do kind of have to watch those things. And you're prepared to handle all those restrictions and limitations.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is wonderful. So you do one-on-one coaching?
I do. I offer one-on-one coaching via Skype or, you know, Google Hangouts or however. And yeah, that's really exciting too. Just help people sort of customize their way of being with food.
That's wonderful. Really, and so tell me what the freebie, what you have for it.
Just put together my collection of holiday recipes. So what I cook almost every year. Just put it all together, and it's all pretty and it looks nice, and it's free, and it's on my website, and so people can go download it and they can just see it right there. And I want everybody to have access to it because holiday cooking doesn't have to be hard. I mean, these are really not hard recipes. And of course you might have like family traditional foods you want to add in, but these are just to give you some idea of like how to create, you know, fresh and exciting. Like I have a beet salad and a green beans that aren't in a casserole form. You know, they're still
no Campbell soup.
Hey, just as an option. I love green bean casserole as much as the next girl.
I do too. I do too. So, that is wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and to share some of your tips and your recipes and to remind us that it is okay not to be perfect. And we're really happy you're that way. Before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to add, or have I missed anything?
When you said that, I was thinking about how, you know, when they ask children how they feel about their mothers, the children will always say like how giving they are, how loving, how much they care. And when you ask a mother how she feels about herself, she'll always talk about her shortcomings and how she didn't do enough. And that's such an important reminder, you know, and especially in this particular moment for like coming up on Thanksgiving, you know, like really just being with your children is really, really all that matters. And it is really all that matters that matters.
That's right.
Crazy. Because it sounds crazy to us. We really don't really genuinely believe that what matters is really what matters.
Mm-hmm. It's just too simple to believe.
Right.
You know,
so like if we could all just get behind that just a little bit this Thanksgiving and move forward from there, I think that would be really lovely.
That is wonderful, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed getting to know you and getting to talk to you. So I think we're going to